You're listening to the Franchise Freedom Podcast with Giuseppe Grammatico.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide, the show that we've put together to help corporate executives experience time and financial freedom via franchising. Glad everyone joined us today, and we are going to continue our shows answering your questions that we get on a daily basis. And we ran some polls. We're going to be structuring some new calls around and bringing guests back on. So we're going to change the format here in a little bit. We're going to dive into funding as we ran a few polls, and I got a lot of feedback and a lot of concerns from people on exactly how to fund this venture, whether it be a franchise or just a startup business. So we're going to invite one of our funding partners on here. And we also are going to be inviting a franchise attorney. We're going to dissect the FDD, the franchise agreement, talk about key areas to really look at and kind of set the expectation as to changes, addendums, all that kind of great stuff. We're going to be covering that on a future episode. So thank you for that. The show is built on questions that we get on a daily basis. So before we dive in, want to invite everyone. If everyone is listening to the show and wants to speak with me directly in 20 minutes or less, we can figure out together if a franchise may be a good fit. You can go right on the website, ggthefranchiseguide.com /calendar. And I think we had here, we did one of the banners over here. You can, let's see, the calendar is here. Perfect. So feel free to book a call with me. Would love to chat. And as I mentioned, in 20 minutes, we can figure out together. Gentleman I just spoke with this morning, franchising sounded like a great fit. And what we did is we decided to pause the search, stay in touch via the podcast, via email, and touch base in 6 months in order to get his financials, right? Need to invest money, had to have some liquidity, some net worth in order to invest in a business. So we put together a plan. So jumping into today's episode, and we've talked about this before, and it's one of my favorite topics, but at the end of the day, you know, why are we looking at a business? There's so many different options out there. We have a lot of listeners that are corporate executives looking to break free of the rat race, right? The corporate monster, as we call it on the website and on the podcast, and they're looking to accomplish something. So not necessarily knowing what the widget is, but they know they want to take ownership and owning a business, trying to figure out what that business is, as there are so many options out there. So today's show, I want to focus on, you know, the end result. You know, what are we focusing on? So, you know, we could figure out the widget. The widget is really, are you selling a product? Is it a service? Are you in brick and mortar where you're offering fitness or massages, health and wellness, or is it something working from home where you're going directly to a customer, offering business coaching, expense reduction, along those lines? And that's not the point of today's show. The point of today's show is kind of the end result, what we're looking to accomplish. So I've talked about this before, and it's the 5 freedoms of business ownership. These are commonly used. A fifth one, and one I tend to overlook, and I give credit to Dan Sullivan from Strategic Coach. So thank you, Dan. Big fan of yours, and I like to go over these. So these are really the freedoms, right? A lot of people talk about time and financial, which we'll talk about today, but we actually have 5 freedoms if you really break it down into specifics. So we're going to dive into those today, and would love to continue the conversation. Again, booking that, I'm going to leave the calendar up the whole show. Why not? So if you have a question, want to dive in on a conversation, feel free. So first one, I think one of the most popular, at least in my opinion, time freedom. Time freedom is the ability to dictate your schedule, balancing work commitments with personal life. Time freedom, if you really kind of break it down, is really the ability to do what you want when you want. Not having a schedule, being able to take a month off and going on vacation to Europe, being able to work. There's people I work with that work, Monday to Wednesday and take a 4-day weekend. So really having the ability to work when you want. If you want to work evenings, if you want to work, take off holidays and just work a couple days a week or a month, a business can't offer you that flexibility. And obviously these are freedoms that you build up to, maybe not day one, starting the business. Although I've heard people launch businesses and say, hey, I'm going to work Monday to Wednesday and that's it. So if you could do that, great. But these are things to really aim for. And one of the 5 and most important freedoms that I hear about on a daily basis. Second one is financial freedom, flexibility to manage financial obligations without worry and accumulate wealth over time. And financial freedom is one that is also very important, because at the end of the day, starting a business, you want to make some money here. There's money both in the day-to-day, what you're paying yourself on an annual basis, and then also on the exit. And on the exit is one area people tend not to focus on and forget that you can sell that business at some point. And there's a lot of factors, and we have a whole show on that, for a certain multiple, depending on the industry, the size, how long you've been in business, how involved the owner is in the business, but you're able to get a multiple. So not only are you getting the, what you're making on an annual basis plus tax benefits, but you're also getting that exit, that multiple could be, I've heard numbers 2, 3, up to 20 times. I mean, which is an extreme, but certain businesses. So definitely something to consider. And I'll actually make a note here. We'll put the exit strategy link in the blog, and that's with my good friend David C. Barnett. So if you want to check out exit strategies, that's included. The third one, and one that actually I overlooked. Originally I had 4 freedoms, and then reading Dan's book, we added the 5th. But it's freedom of purpose. Empowering you to align your business with your values, interests, and desires to make a difference. And that's a big one. There's a purpose. You're doing something good with the business. So to give you an example, sometimes the business itself is something that gives back directly to the community. One that comes to mind is there are franchises that help combat the childhood obesity epidemic, helping children make exercise fun, yoga, stretching, sport, lots of great stuff there. So that's something where it's directly in the business. And then with other businesses, the business itself, the direct business, the service or product being offered may not necessarily give back to the community, but it is allowing the owner, the franchise owner, to accumulate enough wealth to be able to start their own charity, to give back to a couple organizations, start their own charity, maybe that are close to their heart, and really help the community and specific organizations, as I mentioned. So purpose is the third, and I think the one that people overlook, including myself. And the fourth one is the freedom of relationship, and basically, having the liberty to select your team and clients, fostering a conducive work environment. And with relationships, that's a big one. When you're an employee, I always jokingly say, you are. I shouldn't use the word stuck, but you're kind of, these are your colleagues, these are the people you're working with, and then you have your manager who you're not able to select, obviously. And I've had some great managers in my past life, and not so great managers, and we'll leave it at that. But we've had some great experiences there. But you can't really select who you can work with. And owning a business, the beauty is you can select the ideal client, the people you enjoy working with. Sometimes you hear in business that one client who is just very difficult to work with, takes up 80% of the resources, really puts the office in a bad mood. And, maybe it's time to kind of part ways and not work with that client anymore. But, relationship freedoms is really, working with the vendors you enjoy working with and being selected, not just who offers that service, but who do you enjoy working with on a daily basis? The ideal client, that's another one. So if you have an ideal client, if that ideal client is a corporate executive, kind of who I work with, versus someone that maybe is an existing business owner. I don't know. I'm just making this up since I work with both. But maybe you have that ideal customer, that ideal client that you enjoy or candidate you enjoy working with, and you're able to focus your marketing efforts there and really work with them, ask them for referrals, people like them. So I think having relationship freedom is big, because you can really work with who you enjoy working with. And then one of my favorites, as I shifted from working in the office to home, is the freedom of location, essentially being able to operate your business anywhere in the world. And nowadays with the internet, with StreamYard, who we use, and Zoom and Google Meets and all the other ones, it's really given us the ability to be able to work anywhere in the world, right? As long as you have an internet connection. And also, if you're not working from home, giving you the freedom to work maybe in a location, you have two homes, or you live in Ohio, but you vacation in Florida, and being able to have an office there. So when you vacation, you can check in on the office, but really having the flexibility of not being stuck to one location, being able to move, vacation, travel, and still be able to run your business without missing a beat, utilizing technology. Some franchise companies will require you to be at least in the same state, but in many cases, once the business is up and running, you have someone running it, giving you that flexibility to really roam the world and check in. As long as you have an internet connection and a phone or laptop, you're able to really touch base and help run the business. So let's reiterate the 5 freedoms of business ownership. There is time freedom is the first freedom. The second freedom is financial freedom. The third is the freedom of purpose. The fourth being the freedom of, we'll call it, relationships. And the fifth is location freedom. So this is the end result, guys. This is why we're starting a business. This is why we are looking for, when we say freedom, well, which of the freedoms is most important to you? I think they're all, maybe I would focus on a few versus others, but in my opinion, I think they're all equally as important and something to look into. So before looking into a business, figure out your why, and then let's go into figure out the freedoms that you're looking for. And this may not be an overnight thing. You really kind of start the business, start to figure out who your ideal client is. You start to figure out the vendors who exist, who you prefer working with, the time. And these are things that could be improved and changed over time. Time freedom may be Monday to Friday and no weekends to start, and it may change to 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday down the road. So this is an evolving thing. It's an area that can be improved upon. It should be revisited at least annually. And then when I review my goals, I like to take a look and see, okay, which isn't working? Am I not working with my ideal client? Am I not having as much flexibility? Am I traveling enough? What are the hours I'm putting in? And, is it time to hire a virtual assistant or an assistant, or hire someone to take something off my plate? So these are things we should constantly be reviewing. So I hope you enjoyed this. At the end of the day, this is one of the more important episodes because it stresses the reason we're getting into business ownership. Obviously, there are risks involved. It's a lot of money and work. So we want something to strive towards. So I think if we focus in on these 5, I think we'll be in a great place. Appreciate everyone for joining us today. We've got some great episodes launching soon. Would love to hear your comments. Put them on there. Any other, if you have additional freedoms, be open to even checking that out. A 6th or 7th freedom. Love to have a show just around that. Maybe have you on the show. But again, thank you for your questions. Appreciate your support. And if you do have any questions, if you do want to chat about any of the freedoms, if you're not certain, if you qualify, just book that call. We'll be able to figure it out. It's 20 minutes. There's no cost for the call, and we'll figure out together if a franchise is a good fit, if the timing is right, and put together a game plan. So as always, thanks for joining us today, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways Giuseppe can help. 1. If you've ever considered owning a business of any kind, you owe it to yourself to get a copy of Giuseppe's book, Franchise Freedom. Download your free copy at ggthefranchiseguide.com/book. 2. Want to understand how successful executives make the transition from corporate to owning their own franchise? Join Giuseppe's next online presentation, Franchise Freedom: How to Escape the Corporate World and Have Financial and Time Freedom by Owning a Franchise, by going to ggthefranchiseguide.com/video. 3. Want to work with Giuseppe one-on-one to identify the right franchise opportunity for you, to navigate the process, and get plugged into experienced franchising advisors? Send him an email to gg@ggthefranchiseguide.com with one-on-one in the subject, and he'll send you all the details.